speed through this. So what I wanted from this session is I thought you're going to have a lot of presentations, and what I thought was the most important is that you get to see the objects. You're in a museum, and you get to actually handle them. And that's why washing your hands, you get the oil out. If you've got anything hanging around your neck, take it off. But then we really wanted to show you not only some of our historical items, but also talk about some of the narratives that we're going to have in the new galleries. And we've got curators and Shinami from our learning team who are working on the new galleries. So there are 3 new galleries. There's Play, there's Imagine, and there's Design. And it's about championing children's creativity, children's confidence, and it's about repositioning the museum as a museum for children, so from 0 to 14. And that's how it fits within the V&A family. And that we are definitely a museum for children, for them to come, and for them to explore and develop and hopefully be inspired to be by arts, design and performance. And we're very grateful to have Ryan. His work with Petit Plis is going to be showcased in the new galleries, and he's going to give us a fabulous talk about. You're going to get meet the person who has designed this and whose work will be a centre part of our design gallery. So it's a real thrill to have him here and to be able to talk about Petit Plis and how it will fit in with the galleries. Just to give you an overview of this, so we have two main things. We have the skeleton suit, and the skeleton suit, this one is 1805. I don't know whether people are aware of the skeleton suit, but it was a really pivotal design, or change in design for children. So prior to that, you'd have had much more of a slightly miniature view. You'd either have smocks, or when they graduated, they go from smocks into breeches and doublets. And the skeleton suit is this wonderful hybrid. It's a unique item of clothing that isn't echoed in adults, exactly echoed in adults' clothing. And this one, which would have been for a 5-year-old, has wonderful bends, or a little bit older, have bends in the elbows, it has a gusset in the back. So although Dickens called it a straitjacket, in comparison to what was around for boys at this age, it provided a huge amount of freedom. And it was a bit like a modern day onesie or a tracksuit. It just allowed them to play. It was made out of nanking, so it's really tough. It's a really strong material. And so they could move and play and act in a way that probably would have been much harder in other clothing, in traditional clothing. So this is something that happens. You have the Age of Enlightenment, and you have a change in how children are viewed and the valuing of children and the idea of a childhood. And this item of clothing comes out of that period. And what we want to echo in the galleries is how modern day design changes for children and how it enables children to be responsive, reactive and creative. And the Tommy Hilfiger items that we have here, he developed 2017. If I'm wrong, Tanaya can correct me. But these were created, he was inspired by his own children and the difficulties that they had because of their autism, about materials, and I think we talked about this earlier, about how some materials can be really uncomfortable for children with autism. Also that for people with any kind of disabilities, doing up buttons is really difficult. So he created a whole range of clothing that were easy to use, easy to open and accessible, and with wider necklines so they're easy to get off if you're in a wheelchair. You're not constrained, and it's a lot harder to get a pair of trousers on. And if you've got ones that have different Velcro bottoms, it changes the landscape. And it also means that these are fashionable. These are not ugly pieces. These look just like their ranges for adults and for children, but they've got all these different one-handed zippers so that they're easier to open and to close, and for children to have that autonomy, whatever their ability, to be able to dress themselves, choose clothes that is in keeping with their peers and with fashion as well. And I think that you have a segue between something like the skeleton suit and these items in which it's giving children greater emancipation, greater freedom to move, and freedom to act as children. And what I love about the Tommy Hilfiger ones is that it enables them to be able to also to wear the same clothes as their peers, although these are pretty expensive. But it's a really good example of design led by children's needs, and that's the importance. It's design led by children's needs that is enabling their creative confidence and their sense of expression, and that's how they will be displayed in the new exhibition. So these ones are Bethany Williams, and I don't know whether you've come across Bethany Williams. She's won many awards. She she was actually the flag bearer for London Fashion Week in 2020 at Somerset House, and her flag was all our children. So this is the collection that we have here, and we have a range of her stuff, including her lunchbox, which is over there. But these items, she came to us, and she just graduated. She's up and coming. She wanted to study the collection at the then Museum of Childhood. And she looked at several pieces, and she loved some of the children's clothing that she saw. And this was a boy's first suit, and it was worn by a young boy called Reuben in 1826 is when he was baptised in it. And she thought this was fabulous, and you can see how it then, strong parallels between especially this item, but many of the items that she saw within our collection then influenced hers. And her clothing not only is influenced by our collection, but also that she then, she uses material, she recycles material, she finds lace and she finds bedding and she reuses it. And then another aspect that made her such a good case study for our galleries is not only her sustainable practice, where she uses book waste to create her bags, children's lunchboxes to create them as well as the materials and the people who she works with, but also that she worked with a charity near us called the Magpie Project, which looks after families who are homeless with toddlers. And the mothers, if it was all mothers, the mothers and children did portraits of each other in a workshop with an artist called Melissa Jaram. And the portraits then became interpreted by Melissa and were made into the prints for all her artworks. And then in the catwalk shows, the children who drew the work, who were the inspiration, then wore the clothing down the catwalk as well. And with them, the money from 20% of the profits from her clothing sales then go back into the Magpie Project. And she works with them continuously. So she's worked with them for the last at least 3 or 4 years, making clothing with the children, using them as inspiration, using stories, using their artwork, interpreting them through poets, through artists. And it's that co-creation with children, co-design with children, but also for children. This was her first children's collection that made it so relevant to what we do and why we wanted to put it in the new galleries and why it's one of the stronger case studies. So you've got the segue between not only the designs and our collection and how it inspired, and she loved the skeleton suit. She turned that into an adult's piece that you can see at the Design Museum at the moment, but also that she then also works with children, and that the benefits of her work then go back into that project. So it's a really lovely narrative arc, I think, for her project, and also that she's based in Poplar, so she's a local artist, local fashion designer, and that's one of the strongest reasons why she's there. But she's also about sustainability, about recycling and reusing materials, and she sources her materials from all over, but lots of sort of 19th century, 20th century bedclothes go into her work. So no two works are ever the same, they're always a little bit different. So this is one of the ones that are going in, so you're very free to have a look at that. And the Power Rangers lovely box, which I covered in and inside it is love. Covered. But I also realised that the time is scamping on. So the next part, Bethany was also interested in reusing materials and how design. So I'm going to show you. It's a skirt made out of blackout material, blackout curtains. This dress, I don't know whether, I know that Claire probably knows this dress. But this dress was designed. So it's 1940s, a little girl's been invited to a party, and there weren't that many parties during the Second World War, and so her mum doesn't want to spend the coupons on this child's dress, and so she stays up all night and she makes this dress for her daughter to go to the party. It's hard to believe that this was ever actually worn because it's in such good condition for a child to have ever had it. So we have another one that has a good stain on it, so it feels like it would have been worn.
Once.
Yes, once, and that was it. But they had the manufacturing process in Brick Lane. So for us in Bethnal Green, this is a really nice connection that they're local to us. They have their workshop there. This is a 1888 smock. You've got the classic embroidery. You know, it's a traditional outfit that would have been worn by girls and boys. It gave you that freedom. This was worn by a little girl who later became an artist, and her artwork is in the V&A collection. But what is so wonderful about smocks is that it gives you that freedom, that liberation. You can grow with a smock. You can let it out as they get older and broader, but it's about having that flexibility that an outfit could last, and about sustainability, and that segues beautifully into Petit Plis,